So in this video, I'm going to show you guys 4 tips and tricks, techniques, or whatever you want to call them, that will help you get some really fantastic vocal effects to make the vocals sound polished and really professional sounding. Now, this is just 4 tips. There are obviously multiple other ways and techniques out there. So if you think that there are some really interesting ones that you'd want me to talk about, or you want to talk about yourself, just put those in the comments. Now watch until the end. There are a couple of techniques at the beginning of the video, but there are a couple of really cool ones at the end, which I think are definitely worth waiting for and watching. So if you want to know what they are, I'm going to index this page so you can just skip to the area of interest as well. So thanks very much, and here's the video. Adding delay to your vocal can really bring out the life in that vocal. Let's just listen to this female vocal without delay, and then we're going to put the delay on just to show you how it sounds.
Go ahead and do it. One more time should prove it all.
Right, now we will slap a replica XT delay. This is just the default setting, so there's nothing fancy going on here.
Go ahead and do it. One more time should prove it all.
So what that delay is doing is filling out the gaps in the vocal. So you don't have any sort of empty space there with the vocal, and you have this kind of ethereal feel. So although you get what you want, which is that delay at the tail end, you also get the delay while the lady's singing. That can actually distract or detract from the vocal. So just take another listen. You can hear that delay going on while she's singing at the beginning.
Go ahead and do it. One more time should
Okay,
prove
so
it.
it's distracting, isn't it? So there is a technique to improve that and to get rid of that distraction, but to keep the quality delay going. And there's some extra things you can do by using this technique, and that is to add that delay to a return track. So what we're going to do is we're going to deselect that delay, but we're going to copy that delay, put it on the return track. So it's exactly the same delay, and we'll listen to the track and we'll increase the amount of that delay that is sent to the track over time.
Go ahead and do it. One more time should prove it all. Don't be afraid to show it. I know that you want it. Go ahead and do it. One more.
What we're going to do to avoid that clash between the delay and the vocal is to bring in a glue compressor. You can use any compressor, but in Ableton I like to use the glue compressor. And we're going to sidechain the audio, which is in this case track 19. You can see there it says track 19. And it's going to give it a relatively short attack time. And now we're going to listen to it and just keep listening to that audio until this wand waves to about number 5, and we'll just reduce the threshold until we get that sort of waffling or wandering around the number 5 button. So let's just do that now.
Go ahead and do it. One more time should prove it all.
Increase the makeup, the bit of loudness there.
Don't be afraid to show it. I know that you want it. Go ahead and do it.
Now we're going to increase the amount here
all.
that is being sent to the track.
Don't be afraid to show it. I know that you want it. Go ahead and do it. One more time should prove it all.
So you can hear that it's no longer clashing, but you're getting that delay coming through, but it's no longer clashing with the main vocal because it's ducking out because of that sidechain compression. If you really want to hear it, let's just go and solo the return track.
Go ahead and do it. One more time should prove it.
And you can mess with the attack just to make sure you get what you need. You can even reduce the release there.
Don't be afraid to show it. I know that you want it. Go ahead and do it. One more
now, the
time
good
should
thing about
prove
just listening to the return
all.
track is you can really hear that extra layer that's coming through.
Don't be afraid
And
to show
the first thing that I can hear when I hear the return track is I'd like to have a little bit more sheen, a bit more polish on that return. So one way to do that is to use Ozone's Imager. Imager is a plugin that is available in Ozone 9. You can get a version of Imager that's free as well. But I'm lucky, I've got Ozone 9. What I like about the Imager here is the presets. You can just pick one of the presets and just start tweaking it to get the sound that you want. Now you can actually stereoize the image as well. So let's just listen to it with and without the stereo.
Go ahead and do it. One more time should prove it all. Don't be afraid to show it. I know that you want
Okay, now listen to the vocal
it. And do it. One more time should
with the
prove
track.
it all. Don't be afraid to show it. I
Now listen to it
know
without the
you
delay.
want it. Go ahead and do it. One more time should prove it all. Don't be afraid to show it. I know that you want it.
So instantly you've got delays that do not clash, that sound really well sat in the mix. So here's another tip which might be useful to you. In the same song, I've got this young lady singing quite a low pitched vocal. The entire song is quite bassy and low pitched. So if you listen to the chorus of this song, you'll hear what I mean.
I just want you to say that I don't need you back. 'Cause it's hard to stay when you treat me like.
And I think that sounds pretty good. But if you want a bit of balance, you might want to think about the dynamics of the vocal. So in this case, because the vocal is so low pitched, I want to get some high end from the vocal. And I don't think we need to ask the singer for a more of a higher vocal track, because I don't want to detract from the energy of the song. So what I wanted to do is think of creative techniques. Now I have thought of one, and that is to do a send return track to LittleAlterboy. And if we just listen to that in solo mode.
I just want you to say that I don't need you back.
Now LittleAlterboy
'Cause it's hard to stay
is increasing the
when you
pitch by an
treat me
octave.
that way. I don't need you back.
And then you can mess with the format. That's what I really like
Just
about it.
want you to say that I don't need you back. 'Cause it's hard to stay when you.
Now the reason I put that in as a return track is because what we can do, and by the way, I've done a instead of post, I've done pre-insert. And the reason for that is because I want the effects that come in here to be affecting the track before effect is applied rather than after the effect is applied. I have applied the higher pitched vocal just to the chorus, not to the rest of the track. So this is without.
I just want you to say that I don't need you back.
And this is with.
I just want you to say that I don't need you back.
Just adding that sort of high end,
'Cause it's
adding that
hard.
high end sheen almost to the vocal. Now, just listening to the return track, and you, as I've just shown you, you can listen to that by itself. You can add more effects. So in this case, maybe we want to soften that high end sheen, and we can do that by just applying a reverb. You can just apply any reverb, but I can. In this case, I'm going to apply, and this is before the EQ, I'm going to apply some Valhalla, basic Valhalla reverb. Now listen to it now.
I just want you to say that I don't need you back.
So that's really opening the vocal up
'Cause it's hard to stay
and
when you
adding
treat me
depth.
that way. I don't need you back.
Now another technique that I use, which I think is something I'm using a lot more, and I think it's pretty useful, adding another layer to the vocal, using the same vocal, but adding that layer to enhance the tail of the verse or the chorus. But instead of just a normal phrase, you add that little bit of energy at the end. So I copied and pasted that same verse here into another track, but then I pitch shifted it up 5, and I made sure the envelope was 128. In fact, it might even work better if you increase the envelope to its maximum, so you get this sort of quality sound. Always use high Q on your audio files.
Go ahead and do it. One more time should prove it all.
So you hear that? It's like, oh, it's got that extra added sheen, so to speak. And I did reduce the volume a bit on that because if we just listen to it at the highest level, you'll hear that it sounds a little bit artificial.
Time should prove it all.
Yeah, so it's a little bit too artificial, but if you reduce it down to -5 here, it should be fine. And as you can see, I'm doing that throughout the song. I'm just attaching at the end of the phrase. It just adds a little bit more interest to the song.
Don't need you back.
Now, another technique which I haven't actually applied to this track, and the reason why is because there's already a lot of low end on this track, but I do this on almost every track, is I will duplicate the main track and I will just take away from the main track all of any sort of effects that are going on here. Double click on one of the samples and then select all of the samples. I'm going to pitch down an octave. What we've got here is kind of like this Jedi type sound.
Go ahead and do it. One more time should prove it all.
Let's just bring that all the way up.
Go ahead and do it. One more time should prove it all.
Okay, so you want to mess with the envelope and the format. Let's just listen to it again.
Go ahead and
do it. One more time should prove it all.
Until it sounds more natural.
don't be afraid to show it. I know that you want it all.
Now let's listen to it together.
Find some time to go there. I know that you want it all.
Now at this point, you'll listen to the song and reduce it until it's barely audible. And the reason for that is you want the listener to feel that depth, but not hear it.
Go ahead and do it.
One more time should prove it all. Don't be afraid to show it. I know that you want it all.
So I hope that was a useful tip. And the next thing I'm going to do is duplicate the track again. I'm going to press Ctrl J to consolidate everything on that track. So now what I'm going to do is press R. And that's going to reverse the track. Just take a quick listen. Now I'm applying some reverb. This sounds a bit weird, but it's, believe me, trust the process. Right, so now I've applied this reverb to a reversed track. I'm going to flatten the track, freeze and flatten the track. So now I'm going to flatten the track, and you'll see that it's just going to remove any effects that are here because it's ingrained that effect into the track. Now we press R and reverse it again. Now we've reversed the track now with the reverb that was reversed coming into the track. Now let's just take a listen to the vocal by itself.
Go ahead and do it. One more time should prove it all.
I mean, that sounds incredible, doesn't it? But what we can do
Don't be afraid to show it. I
is mix it into the song.
Find some time to go there. I know that you want it all.
So what's really cool about that is you can just use the bit that comes in at that point there and just use the bits that you think, you know, could be useful. So for example, the middle parts of the song where nothing's happening, you can use it there. Let's just fade that in. We'll do the same here. We fade that in and take a listen. Fade that in. Or you could just use it by itself. So you can also just bring the volume down and it becomes kind of this ethereal background vocal. So we just bring the volume down so we could only just hear it.
Find some time to go there. I don't want you on it all. I can't be without it. Do you?
So thank you very much for getting this far. What do you guys do? What's your technique for improving and getting the most out of your vocal? There's quite a lot here, and this is probably just the tip of the iceberg. There might be so many other different techniques. Thank you for getting this far. Bye.
Go ahead and do it.